never sleeps, pal.
Hey there, this is Pete Townsend from Norio Ventures, and this is episode 21 of Money Never Sleeps, a podcast that looks inside the head of entrepreneurs and at what makes them do what they do. Money Never Sleeps is kindly sponsored by Top Tier Recruitment, a specialist recruitment consultancy in fintech and financial services. In this episode, we talk to Aine Mulloy, co-founder and chief marketing officer of GirlCrew, a platform that makes it easy for women to make new friends. This was the first time that Owen and I met Aine, as we both became aware of Aine and GirlCrew recently, and we're both really impressed with what they've achieved in such a short period of time. Finding ways to bring together people of similar interest always gives me a great buzz, so I wanted to hear more about it. When I first moved to Ireland years ago, I had to go to a Blink 182 concert on my own because my wife and none of my friends wanted to go with me. Although GirlCrew obviously wouldn't have worked for me, I could definitely understand the value proposition. Listen in to hear all about it. On with the show. Here we go again. Welcome to the 21st episode of Money Never Sleeps. We're here in Dogpatch Labs in Dublin. I'm Pete Townsend.
And I'm Owen Fitzgerald.
And we're here with Aine Mulloy, co-founder of GirlCrew. Welcome to the show, Aine.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
For years and years and years, I said Aine as Anya. And then someone that I worked with corrected me probably about 3 years ago maybe, and said, no, it's more Aine.
Aine.
Yeah. And to me, Aine sounds like someone saying that with a New York accent. Right? Aine from Long Island. Yeah? No, it doesn't work. But no, so I'll say your name properly for the rest of the show, I promise.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
I've been in Ireland now for 12 years. I'm originally from Boston.
You can't tell.
No. My accent has stayed with me.
What accent do your kids have, actually? Now that I think about it.
Halfway between South Side, North Side accent, somehow. So it's all over the place.
No American stuff.
No, not at all. Well, my daughter is neutral, so, right, it's like, she gets some of that from me. Anywho, so very interesting backstory. Had to look at your LinkedIn profile. There's a lot of cool overlap. I look at everybody's LinkedIn profile, right? And people laugh, and it's like, well, that's what we're gonna do, right?
No, of course. Obviously, it's the most obvious place to start.
Exactly. Figure out where you're from. Really like the Galway connection. I spent a lot of time there. We spoke with Niall Dennehy, who was on episode 11. He's from AidTech.
Okay, yeah.
And about what he used to do on Shop Street in Galway, busking.
Singing
U2 songs without a guitar, just a cappella for money.
We used to play Foreign, Pretentious or Odd there a lot.
Used to do what?
Play a game called Foreign, Pretentious or Odd.
Foreign, Pretentious or Odd.
Effectively, you just get coffee or hot chocolate or whatever drink you want, and you sit at the Easton's window, and as people are passing, you guess whether they're... Yeah! Awesome.
I like that. We did that in AIB. I had a group of people that joined the same grad program as me, and we used to sit around AIB and say the same version of the same game.
Yeah. No, it beats playing my car, which I used to play when I was a kid. Give us just kind of a story where this all came from. I don't want to give the whole GirlCrew story away. I'll let you do that.
Okay, well, I guess, do you want the full thing or just kind of a brief overview, or how deep
however
of a
you want
dive
to do
are we
it,
talking here?
but just get into kind of what got you to this point.
Yeah, so for me, I joined as a member first. So GirlCrew started initially with my founder, Elva. She was bored one Friday night and wanted to go out in Dublin. But her friends and sisters were busy, so she changed her gender settings on Tinder. Put up a little graphic saying, I'm a woman, just want to go out dancing, who wants to do that instead? And sort of overnight, she'd over 100 matches, so she knew, hang on, twigged onto something here. Obviously, Tinder's one-on-one chat, so she sent everyone a link to a Facebook group, and that's how GirlCrew started.
Very good.
Then I came across it on Tinder, myself and my boyfriend at the time. Tinder was kind of blowing up in Dublin, and we'd obviously missed the boat a bit. So we're like, we'll just download it for the crack and see how the story is. So we were just sitting side by side, swiping through, and I came across it, and he was basically I was like, this sounds amazing. Like, all my friends have started to emigrate. I went to college in Galway, so I was a bit behind people going to Dublin. And he was like, I know you're from the west of Ireland where people leave their doors open and stuff, but you're going to get killed. And I was like, nah, look, worst comes to worst, it'll be a great story. Best comes to best, I'll meet new people. So yeah, I did. That's how I joined GirlCrew, and then came on board as co-founder after a few months. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just taking a look at your story there. Lots of good crossover between what looks like digital marketing, education, event management, those types of things.
Yeah.
How did that kind of make you who you are today, but those experiences that you've gone through obviously now are adding something to what you're doing with GirlCrew, right? And and becoming a co-founder and chief marketing officer. That's pretty cool stuff with with how things move along for you. So
yeah, well, I guess for me, I actually always wanted to work in publishing. So I did my master's in literature and publishing down in Galway. I kind of had done a BA in English and history, and I was just like, how can I stave off work in the real world until I have a plan? I'll just do my master's. So I went straight from my BA into my master's, which was a great experience because actually I think a lot of people sometimes tend not to go back to do a master's if they're out of education for a while. I also love being in education. For me, I really enjoy that kind of formal education piece of someone teaching you and you being in the classroom. And from there, I did an events internship because getting jobs in publishing is, harder than finding a pot of gold. It's so difficult. You literally are waiting for people to die or retire. Like the industry is so closed. So I got an internship in events with a contract publisher. So it's kind of a sort of a segue in. And then from there, I got a job with an educational publishing company, doing a lot of kind of digital research and contract analysis and those kinds of things, IP requests and various stuff like that. And then as I was there, I was kind of I enjoyed the events part of my internship a lot, and then I enjoyed the digital marketing part. So I did a postgrad in digital marketing, and that was kind of just to add to my skill set of moving on to the next role and those kinds of things.
And I suppose, did you approach your co-founder then, or the founder of GirlCrew, about getting more involved, or how did that kind of come about?
That was pretty natural. At the first event I went to, I met Elva. We got on really well, and I just kind of was chatting to her about how she could make the processes for members and for herself a bit easier. The group at that point was quite reliant on her to do things, and I was like, there's absolutely no need for them to do. Just let people set up their own events. Let people, there's various things you can do to kind of make this a bit more streamlined. And then she was kind of like, cool, it sounds like you have some good ideas. Do you want to just kind of help out? And it's like, yeah, sure. At this point, it was super informal. So it wasn't that I came on as co-founder. It was just like I was giving her a hand.
Just interested in helping.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and just making the processes a lot more streamlined and kind of finding a way for more people to get involved and for people to kind of get more out of it as well. I think a lot of people felt very reliant on kind of the team, but they didn't have to be. It was just kind of giving people the tools to empower themselves to use the network to kind of the best it could be effectively. So she was like, yeah, cool, do you want to come on kind of on the organizational side? And I was like, yeah, it sounds great. And then a couple months later, she met Pamela at the Surf Summit, which was part of the Web Summit when I was still in Ireland. And Pamela kind of hit her up with I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't really have an idea, but this sounds great. Can I get involved? And then three of us just kind of gelled and have taken it to where it is now.
And what's the plan? Where are you looking to go with it?
Our aim is to be the largest female network in the world. That's really the ultimate goal. So now it's the case of trying to scale the company and really kind of penetrate the US market as well.
And is it a personal market, or a personal network? Is that the...
It's a bit of both. Aim. Ultimately, initially it just started off as kind of the social element for people to connect with other women in the area and make friends. But as we started growing, people were asking for more stuff. So now it covers everything from entrepreneurship to blogging. And there's people talking about all these things all over the world together, which is great. We feature women who run their own businesses through the community and things like that as well. So there's a lot of kind of support that people can draw from it, be it social, be it professional, whatever you want. I guess the benefit for us is that we're not delineated by niche. We're not a sports app. We're not a working app. We're literally just the female experience and the full gamut of that. So whatever people want to talk about, they can really. And so long as it abides by the guidelines, there's no problem with the content really.
And how do you find it as an entrepreneur now versus some of the other roles I suppose you've done?
Well, I never really kind of saw myself as an entrepreneur. My dream ultimately was to work for Random House. It's kind of a huge publishing company, but yeah, it's good. I think it's what I like about it is that you can make decisions quite quickly and then just implement them. And if they don't work, they don't work. But if they do, then it's great, and you can kind of test and iterate. That's the part that I like. And then meeting other people and talking to other people and helping them as well. We get to speak at a lot of events and panels and various things, which is something that I've always really enjoyed. I used to debate in college and in school and stuff. But I think most part is just kind of seeing those connections, seeing people that we've put in touch with each other then are now working together. They've become clients and partners for each other, which is fantastic because people are kind of using our network as a distribution model almost to find their own kind of connections via us, which is brilliant. And that's something that people definitely are, I guess social media kind of helps that a bit in general anyway, but with us we have an additional kind of trust element, and we also like encourage people to use their real name and their real photo and all these kinds of things that you don't get on other platforms. So it's a strong way to kind of build a local, hyper-local or global network depending on how you want to use the platform or what you want to use it for.
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's a really interesting concept as well, is that, you know, I'd say in the last 10 years, there's been a concept or just a term coined called, offline to online, right? Which is, okay, you've got a process that's offline, let's bring it online and monetize that and scale it and so on and so forth. There's then online to offline, which is kind of what you're doing, which is create kind of some of these relationships online and then bring it offline so that you can get more value out of it through the human connection, which is pretty cool. Then you've got like Facebook, which has some of both, but then some of Facebook is just purely online to online, and that's it, and that's all there is, and that's all there ever be. Like, you know, my Facebook friends, I've never met them, but, but they're my friends.
Yeah,
of course they are, right? But this is really powerful. How do you monetize the whole thing? That's done through ads, right?
Well, we kind of have a couple of different models at the moment. So we have a premium subscription in Dublin. So that's a paid version. Effectively, you get hosted events and additional discounts and access to exclusive content and various things like that. So I guess for people who are more looking for the convenience and also kind of mixing up their own social calendar, that's a great way of doing that. We also partner with different brands. So we've worked with the likes of Microsoft, Dell, PayPal, independents like Folkster. We run our own events as well. They're generally more kind of around wellness, professional kind of career development, that kind of stuff. And then obviously in the future we'll be adding kind of ads and kind of hoping to scale that out. So we're lucky in that we have lots of things that we can do. We've also used our own members for market research for other companies and things like that. So they can test products, they can do an in-store activation. So if people are looking to fill a room, obviously we can do that as well. So there's lots that we can do with the community because we have, as you said, that kind of online, offline piece. We're kind of stronger in many ways than other networks because people are looking for a more interactive brand experience now, and we can do that with our membership.
And we had Vanessa Tierney on from Abodu recently, and that is about smart working and connecting people who want to work from home or from co-working spaces rather than going into an office every day with employers who want those skill sets and value those skill sets. And that's just the core function of it.
Yeah.
Kind of like your core function is to connect people, right?
Absolutely.
Connect women. But there's all these other things going on behind Abodu as well, trying to promote smart working, smart villages within communities, get these co-working centers set up that will actually help promote the whole thing overall, but, you know, altruistically lead to a better working world, right? It sounds like you've got, you know, beyond the app, there's this whole brand there of, you know, like you're saying, events, other content that's all just waiting to happen or is happening, but is something that could be done on a much larger scale. What's her name? Ariana Huffington, who graduated from the HuffPost, the thing that she set up herself and set up Thrive Global, which is more kind of along the lines of what you're doing, and there's a much bigger thing happening behind the scenes than what's really out there right now in terms of their products, right?
And how do you, because obviously we've mentioned Facebook and some of the other social networks, is it something you always keep in mind then, because it is that network piece, you know, of some of the dangers of some of those platforms or the challenges that they face around, you know, any number of them, you name any of them, Facebook or LinkedIn or anything, are they things you keep in mind, you know, the challenges that might face as you kind of grow globally and are massive then?
Definitely. I guess for us, we're built on the principle guideline of respect, so that kind of is behind everything that we do in terms of community, content moderation, the content that we produce and promote as well. So for us, we're kind of obviously looking at the gender piece and also kind of class barriers and trying to break those down as much as we can within the network, which is great because obviously there are technological barriers to people getting online, but once you are online, it's quite a good equalizer in that sense. And our community definitely helps that as much as we can. So for us, we started off as being 25 plus, which immediately kind of set the tone for the community. And in terms of the branding and the stuff that we do is much more adult focused. We're not really a space for teenagers. We're definitely no under 18s. As we've grown, we started to see the age range increase. So we now have a good cohort that are kind of in around the 19-21. And also a lot older ladies as well, which is fantastic to see that age range spread, which is great. But I guess for us, we've definitely created a space that's for adults. So people are discussing adult content in terms of, and I don't mean like in terms of anything salacious, like literally just taxes and like, you know, plumbers and various things like that. But you get a real sense then that the information being shared is genuine and it's coming from people's genuine experience, and also people being able to provide the solution themselves. So it could be something like, I'm looking for a lawyer to help, we're looking to buy a house, someone will say I am one, here's, you know, let's talk about rates and things like that. So it's a great way for people to see that actually there is a sense of community that people want, and to bring that back into the real world as well, because people do meet offline, which is obviously core to us alongside the kind of online information share.
So where are your members based now?
All over. So we're active in over 50 cities worldwide. So obviously that's Ireland, UK, US, Canada, New Zealand, Australia.
And in terms of the team, then, is that purely out of Ireland, or do you?
Yeah, pretty much. Majority of us are based out of here, Dublin, so we're working out of Dublin, but we do have developers working out of Brazil, so he's 100% remote, obviously. Yeah.
In the different cities, over 50 now, like you said, have you had to make any on-the-ground investment in those cities, or has it just been all, well, we have a new user that happens to be in that city, and they then bring a number of different users, other users on board as well in that city?
It's a number of things. So we generally kind of have a strategy built around launching into a new city. So we found that there needs to be a critical mass of people going in over a relatively short period of time before the group works.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going into an empty group, you're not going to be likely to post or talk. There needs to be some sort of buzz and stuff like that. And then we also have a system of community ambassadors. So they're local people who post events and host events. We had the system in the Facebook groups. They were like approving requests and deleting spam and doing moderation and all that stuff. As we moved over to the app, their function has slightly changed, but we still need people on the ground, and we found that that's really helps drive engagement. And people love being the ambassadors as well. They get featured in the newsletter, their events and things like that, and we do like an ambassador of the season and send people swag and all this stuff. So there's kind of an influence model piece to that as well. It's not a paid in terms of like there's no monetary value on it, but it's just more the trust rating.
You know, you've joined at the point which is critical to the company's growth. Obviously, at this stage, you're looking to grow across different cities. But where do you want this to go personally?
To be honest, I'd like to just keep adding more value in terms of what our members get out of being part of the community. I think that for us is really critical, and it's where we've seen huge amounts of impact. Even one of our own team members, she works kind of freelance for us, marketing, and has other clients and stuff. But when we first met her, I think the first time I met her was at a GirlCrew Pro event. So it was an event that we had hosted, and at that point she was an unpaid intern. From that event, she kind of won pitch competition and various things, and then she ended up being head of marketing for another startup. I think that startup has since closed. But you can see the journey of our users because we know them. They're posting about their lives, they're talking about their own relationships in terms of their work-life balance and all those kinds of things and what they want to do. And then we can serve them content that helps that. Yeah. So for us, it would be really great, I think, to be kind of reaching further into wider socioeconomic backgrounds and looking beyond the people that are kind of easiest to target, and actually be looking to how we can make a real impact in our community. Okay. For example, we've partnered with Inner City Helping Homeless here in Dublin, and we're actually launching a fundraising campaign with them this month to kind of raise funds for Directly. We have a similar charity partner in San Francisco, Tectonica, and we kind of work with them as well. So for us, it's really about kind of putting back into the community as much as we can. Obviously, we're a startup, so what we're really leveraging on is the community and our kind of brand, so we can amplify messaging. But we've gotten behind lots of social kind of causes. We were heavily involved in the repeal movement here in Ireland as well, as much as we could be as a company. We did live videos, a lot of content around it. We encouraged members to march. All of the founders were marching and, videoing from that and stuff like that. Very good. So it's really important to us to be, kind of walking the walk as well as talking the talk. But I mean, being politically active is being core to my upbringing. So I think it would be quite difficult to be building something and then kind of ignore those issues. You can't really say you're building something for women and then ignore everything that they go through.
It must be fantastic though to be able to, make a difference in that way.
Yes,
it's not just like it's a business, but you know that you're bringing so much value to your members and then being able to give that back. So I know from using, like my wife would use a lot of the forums on some of the, the parenting websites and stuff like that, and like you'd find people there desperately looking for answers for things, and like what GirlCrew is doing is it brings everyone together in that community. So you're being able to see the value that it's bringing to people under lots of different ways. You know, it's not just one small thing. You can bring content to them as well to add to the stuff they're learning about.
Yeah.
Like, that's fantastic. It must far outweigh, I suppose, the business side of it and what that does.
Yeah.
How do you do both, right? And how do you make it one thing? The part of it that is making a better planet, right? And the part of it that is keeping the business moving forward.
Well, we kind of have divided our roles as founders quite evenly and neatly. Yeah, so I don't actually personally have to look after that kind of stuff.
Well, Chief Marketing Officer,
You tell the good story.
I just tell the good story.
You just tell the story,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you get people interested.
Yeah, but
conviction.
Pamela looks after kind of the business, investment, legal, finance kind of stuff. She was a business and technology journalist with the Irish Times for many years, and it was actually through an interview with her, with CEO of LinkedIn, Jeff Weiner, that we got our first offer of investment. She's incredibly savvy, very, very business minded. So with her kind of the driving force for the business, we kind of are fortunate, I guess, to be able to tell the story that we want and add value in other ways. And it's the value piece that really helps engage the brand. So the two are obviously not working, they're kind of in betwixt and in between, I guess. So they're very much working together. The partnerships are a huge part of how we add value to our members as well. So everything is kind of intertwined, but we've been fortunate in that someone can say, this is what I want to do, and here's the campaign around it, and kind of just launch it and get going on it quite quickly. So I would say that our team are very driven, and we just like to get things off the ground.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like any of the personal beliefs or missions that you would have as an individual would be completely aligned with GirlCrew.
Absolutely.
Do you ever worry that one or two of them might not be?
Well, sometimes, I mean, it is difficult, obviously. Sometimes you do have to make a business decision, but we are fortunate in that we can. I think the values of everyone on our team, particularly the founders and the staff that we have working with us, are incredibly aligned. The amount of information we have individually on different topics would be quite different, but in terms of the ultimate goal and kind of the aims and the morals and the ethos of what we all have collectively, we're definitely singing from the same hymn sheet, which makes things a lot easier. Definitely in terms of the companies that we would work with and kind of the campaigns that we work around, it's much easier to do that when you don't have to convince other people that this is a good idea. If you're pulling in different directions, and we've seen that in other teams, that when they start to kind of veer off in different directions morally or ethically, it really fractures the company. Whereas we know I can make a decision, the others will back it, even if they're not in the room, because it's coming for the benefit of the community, benefit of the business.
What do your tough days look like?
They're just long. Tough days, I guess, for us. Obviously, as an Irish startup, you're trying to compete in a lot of markets on Irish resources. Can be quite stressful. Our vision is definitely bigger than our pool of resources at the moment. So I think you need to be savvy with how you're spending money, which can be unfortunate because sometimes you're like, oh, well, if I had more money, I would just throw that at the problem would be gone. So that's something that's definitely been tricky. But I think we've done quite well. And hopefully we can just scale now and kind of bring things to the next level as well.
And who do you lean on then? Or is it very much every founder leans on each other? Or is there other support that you kind of bring from mentors? Or
Yeah, so it's kind of a mix of both. We're lucky in that if someone has a problem, we do just raise it, and then it kind of becomes everyone's problem. So everyone is looking to how best to fix it. We set kind of weekly goals, and every week we'll have stand up and kind of talk through the goals and how things went, and we'll have roadmap meetings quite regularly particularly around marketing stuff, obviously, and kind of campaign reviews and things like that. But I guess we also have been very fortunate that we've, like Oisín Kim from Web Doctor has been a huge support for us in the technical sense. He's our technical advisor. And I think we all kind of have personal, informal mentors as well that have helped us through various problems, which is vital. I think any entrepreneur who pretends that they know it all is just a fraud. Like, there's no way that you can. It's impossible for one person to know every aspect of every business when it's new. Like, that's just, you're not some sort of oracle. So I think it's incredibly fortunate to be in Ireland in many ways. I think Irish people are very, very generous with their time if you just ask them. I know we've personally been very lucky anyway if we just have a specific problem and say, I'm having a problem with X. I know you're an expert in this, can you help me? And it's important to look at people that are just a step or two ahead of you as well, not just people who have sold massive companies or exited or whatever. You need to be looking at people who, I went through that same problem 5 months ago. Here's what we did. Because I think sometimes people can kind of with the distance of time and money, you're like, oh, we'll just pump another 10 grand into it and it's job done. It's like, yeah, we don't have that, so what are we going to do? So yeah, I think the ecosystem in Ireland, not just in Dublin, but in Ireland in general, is growing really strong, and it's great to see it's kind of spreading outside of the capital as well.
Yep, it's happening quite a lot. And do you spend most of your time in and around Dublin? Are you back in Galway at all these days anymore?
No. I actually, I'm from Mayo, just outside Westport in Knockrisky, but I live in Dublin. So I haven't been down to Galway in yonks, but yeah.
Great city.
All right, well, listen, it feels like we kind of could talk all day, as always, but we usually like to finish up with one question, which is what would people not know, or what would people not expect to know about you?
About me?
About you, yeah. And we have a range of things. We've had some interesting stories about.
I just started playing the guitar again. Yeah, my daughter's taking guitar lessons.
Okay.
So I got my guitar fixed by the same person that fixes U2's guitars. Just happened to be, in my neighborhood. Just happened to be in my neighborhood.
He's not a massive fan or anything.
Yeah, no, not at all. Niall Dennehy would love this. And my fingers are a little bit sore today from playing the guitar last night with my daughter. So that's something that you didn't know about me.
No, true. I've had a couple of weird injuries, if that counts.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I cut off a chunk of my finger with a handheld blender, and now the fingerprint on that finger is distorted. So
really?
Yeah.
Did it grow? Well, I was going to say, did it grow back? My fingers don't grow back.
No, it's just like the pad. I cut that basically down to the bone.
Yeah.
With a handheld blender.
And you got hit on the head when you were supposed to do this a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it was like 3 weeks ago.
At an event or something like that.
My friend, my housemate and one of my best friends recently moved to Oxford to study acting. So we were kind of going away. And as I was leaning to talk to someone to get into a taxi as they were getting out, the door whipped full extension into my head.
Ouch.
So I got a pretty bad concussion. But it's actually kind of ironically on the exact same place where I also split my head open before. So I hit my head off the corner of our house and chipped my skull, and I've got like a permanent scar.
Okay.
And then 3 weeks ago I got concussed on the exact same spot.
Okay.
I've also torn my kneecap, torn all the ligaments, shattered the bone, broke my arm from wrist to elbow, knocked out 2 teeth. My front one is still chipped.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Well, in your line of work, people in their lifetime. In your line of work, you should be pretty free from all this stuff.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, the concussion, the recent concussion was probably the first time in a while that I've been seriously injured. But we've always had a pretty rambunctious lifestyle.
Okay.
So these things happen.
They do. Just more to you, though.
It comes with the territory for GirlCrew.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you, Aine, for coming on.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
It's a great pleasure having you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Money never sleeps, pal.
We'd like to thank Aine for opening up her mind for the 21st episode of Money Never Sleeps, a podcast brought to you by Norio Ventures and Owen Fitzgerald, and sponsored by Top Tier Recruitment. You can find out more about Aine and GirlCrew on girlcrew.com and by following @GirlCrewHQ on Twitter and Facebook. If you like what you heard today, please subscribe to Money Never Sleeps on Transistor.fm, iTunes, Spotify, or on your favorite online media channel, and leave us a review on iTunes. Each one helps. You can now access all of the Money Never Sleeps episodes through a link on the podcast page on the Norio Ventures website, which is norioventures.com. If you're an entrepreneur with a story to tell, anywhere in the world, drop us a line using the contact form on the Norio Ventures website. We'd like to thank Conan Brophy from Create Sound for recording and editing this podcast, and thanks to Dogpatch Labs for hosting us and for their unwavering support of the startup community in Dublin. Till next time, thanks for listening. See ya!